The stars had been quiet for 3,000 years. Commander Tejo stood on the bridge of the crystal's edge, watching the endless darkness beyond the ship's viewing screen. His crystalline body caught the soft blue light of the control panels, making tiny rainbows dance across his face. All systems normal, Commander, reported Navigation Officer Sora. Her gaseous form floated near the navigation controls, her voice coming through the ship's speakers. No unusual readings in this sector. Tejo nodded. It was always the same report. Day after day, week after week, they patrolled the outer edge of known space. The Galactic Council had 7 member species, and together they controlled 47 star systems. Beyond that was the silent expanse, a vast region of space where no intelligent life had ever been found. The Council had been looking for new civilizations for centuries. They had special protocols for first contact, teams of diplomats ready to welcome new species, and translation programs that could handle almost any language. But the silent expanse lived up to its name. It was empty, cold, and lifeless. "Weapon systems ready, Commander," said Dongwu from his station. The insect-like Krell clicked his mandibles as he spoke. His 6 arms moved quickly across the weapon controls, checking each system twice. "Though I don't know why we need weapons out here. Nothing ever happens. The Council wants us ready for anything," Tejo replied. He had been saying the same thing for 5 years. The Crystal's Edge was one of 12 ships that watched the border. They were the first line of defense against any threats from unknown space. Science Officer Haye-Jin looked up from her console. The energy-based Lumnari appeared as a bright white glow that took a roughly humanoid shape. "Commander, I'm detecting some strange readings from the long-range sensors." Tejo walked over to her station. "What kind of readings?" "I'm not sure," Haye-Jin said. Her light flickered as she concentrated. "There's something moving out there very far away. The signature is unusual." "Unusual how?" Tejo asked. "Well, it's definitely artificial. But the energy patterns don't match any known technology. It's crude, almost primitive, but also very powerful." Sora floated closer. "Could it be a Council ship with damaged systems?" "No," Haye-Jin said firmly. "This is something else entirely. The power source appears to be fusion-based, which is ancient technology. But the output levels are enormous." Tejo felt a strange sensation in his crystal matrix. Something his species called excitement, though it was rare for them to feel it. For 3,000 years, the galaxy had been peaceful and predictable. The Council species had learned to work together, sharing knowledge and resources. There had been no wars, no conflicts, and certainly no contact with unknown civilizations. "Can you determine its course?" Tejo asked. Haye-Jin's light pulsed as she worked. "It's heading toward Council space. Based on current trajectory and speed, it will reach the border system of Kepler-7 in approximately 47 standard days." The bridge fell silent. Even Dongwu stopped clicking his mandibles. A ship from the silent expanse was heading directly toward them. "Are you certain of these readings?" Tejo asked. "I've checked them 3 times, Haye-Jin replied. "The signature is consistent and growing stronger. Whatever it is, it's big, much bigger than any Council vessel." Tejo made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. "Sora, set course for the nearest communication relay. We need to contact Council headquarters immediately." "Yes, Commander," Sora said. Her gaseous form moved to the navigation controls, and the Crystal's Edge began to turn toward the nearest relay station. As they traveled, Haye-Jin continued to monitor the unknown vessel. "Commander, I'm getting more detailed readings now. The ship appears to be approximately 3 kilometers long and heavily armed." "Armed with what?" Dongwu asked, suddenly very interested. "That's the strange part," Haye-Jin said. "The weapons appear to be kinetic-based. Projectile weapons, not energy weapons. It's like they're using metal slugs instead of plasma or laser technology." Tejo was puzzled. Kinetic weapons were considered primitive by Council standards. They were inefficient, required large amounts of ammunition, and couldn't penetrate modern shield systems. Why would an advanced civilization capable of interstellar travel use such outdated weapons? "There's something else," Haye-Jin continued. "I'm detecting multiple smaller vessels attached to the main ship. They might be fighters or landing craft." The communication relay came into view, a small station floating in space, covered with transmission arrays. Sora guided the Crystal's Edge into docking position. "Priority transmission to Council headquarters," Tejo ordered as soon as they were connected. "Emergency code Alpha 7. The transmission took several minutes to reach the Council's capital world of Nexus Prime. When the reply came back, it carried the voice of Admiral Young-Soo himself. "Commander Tae-ho, report your situation." "Admiral, we have detected an unknown vessel approaching Council space from the Silent Expanse. The ship is of unknown origin and appears to be heavily armed." There was a long pause. "Unknown origin? Are you certain it's not a Council vessel?" "Positive, Admiral. The technology is completely different from anything in our databases. The vessel uses fusion power and kinetic weapons." Another pause, longer this time. "Transmit all sensor data immediately. The Council will need to review this information." "Transmitting now, Admiral." As the data flowed through the communication link, Tai-Ho wondered what they had discovered. For 3 millennia, the Council had believed they were alone in this part of the galaxy. The 7 species had built their civilization on the assumption that they were the only intelligent life in the region. Now something was coming from the void, something that used technology the Council considered primitive, but somehow seemed threatening. The unknown ship was heading directly toward Council space, and nobody knew what its intentions were. "Data received," Admiral Young-Soo said finally. "Continue monitoring the vessel, but do not attempt contact. A Council fleet is being assembled to intercept." "Understood, Admiral." The transmission ended and the Crystal's Edge undocked from the relay station. As they resumed their patrol, Tae-Ho looked out at the stars and realized that everything was about to change. The Silent Expanse was silent no more. Something was coming, and the galaxy would never be the same. "Commander," Hyojin said quietly, "I'm detecting more signatures." "More ships?" "No," she replied, her light dimming with worry. "Energy discharges. Weapon signatures. I think they're testing their systems." Tae-Ho felt his crystal matrix vibrate with a new emotion, one his peaceful species hadn't felt in centuries: fear. The Council chamber on Nexus Prime had never seen such activity. Representatives from all 7 species filled the circular hall, their different forms creating a strange but beautiful display. Council Speaker Jin Woo, a tall plant-like Sylphara, stood at the center podium. His bark-like skin rustled as he moved, and his voice carried the weight of 3,000 years of peaceful governance. "Fellow Council members," Jin Woo began, "we face an unprecedented situation. For the first time in our recorded history, an unknown civilization has made contact with Council space." The chamber erupted in excited chatter. The crystalline Vextar chimed like wind bells, while the insectoid Krell clicked and buzzed. The gaseous Nethrim formed swirling patterns of discussion, and the aquatic Tideborn splashed in their water-filled viewing tanks. Admiral Young-Soo stepped forward. The elderly Vextar's crystal body had grown dim with age, but his voice was still strong. "The unknown vessel will reach our border system of Kepler-7 in 39 days. Our analysis of the sensor data shows technology that is both primitive and potentially dangerous." A holographic display appeared above the podium, showing the massive angular ship detected by the Crystal's Edge. The assembled Council members fell silent as they studied the alien vessel. "The ship appears to be built for war," Admiral Young-Soo continued. "It carries enough firepower to destroy a small fleet, yet uses technology we abandoned centuries ago." Ambassador Da-un of the Tideborn raised one of her webbed hands. "Have we attempted to establish communication?" "Not yet," the Admiral replied. "We felt it best to follow first contact protocols and assemble a proper diplomatic mission." Jin Woo nodded approvingly. The Galactic Accords were very clear about first contact procedures. Any meeting with a new civilization must be handled by trained diplomats with military escort only for protection. The goal was always peaceful integration into the galactic community. "I volunteer to lead the diplomatic mission," Da-un said. Her blue-green skin glistened as she spoke. The Tideborn were known for their patience and wisdom, making them excellent negotiators. "Approved," Jin Woo said. "Captain Wu Jin will command the military escort." "How many ships do you require, Captain?" Captain Wu Jin, a young but experienced Krell officer, stood up. His insect-like form was impressive, standing nearly 3 meters tall with 6 powerful arms. "Given the unknown vessel's size and armament, I recommend a full diplomatic squadron. 12 ships should be sufficient to ensure Ambassador Da-un's safety while demonstrating Council strength." "Agreed," Jin Woo said. The flagship will be the Harmony's voice. Departure in 18 hours. As the council session ended, the representatives dispersed to prepare for humanity's first contact with their civilization. None of them could imagine what was about to unfold. The diplomatic fleet assembled at the border system of Kepler 7. 12 beautiful ships formed a perfect formation around the flagship Harmony's voice. The council vessels were works of art as much as transportation, smooth curves and elegant lines that reflected their builder's peaceful nature. Ambassador. Diane stood on the bridge of the Harmony's voice, reviewing first contact protocols on her datapad. She had handled 17 successful first contact missions in her career. The procedure was always the same: greet the newcomers with respect, offer them knowledge and friendship, and guide them gently into the galactic community. Unknown vessel approaching, reported the sensor officer. Distance 50,000 kilometers and closing. On screen, Captain Wu Jin ordered. The main viewing screen flickered, and the unknown ship appeared. Every being on the bridge went silent. The vessel was massive, a brutal wedge of gray metal and ceramic plating. Weapons bristled from every surface, and its hull was scarred as if it had been through many battles. By the Great Reef, Daun whispered. In all her years of diplomacy, she had never seen a ship built for such obvious violence. They're scanning us, the sensor officer reported. Very primitive sensors, but thorough. Open a communication channel, Daun ordered. All frequencies, standard first contact greeting. The communication officer, a luminary named Kitai, began transmitting. Unknown vessel, this is Ambassador Daun of the Galactic Council. We come in peace and friendship. Please respond on any frequency. For several minutes there was only silence. Then the speakers crackled to life with a harsh, unfamiliar voice. This is Captain Minho of the Earth vessel Soul's Vengeance. We're not interested in your friendship. We want answers. The translation system struggled with the alien language before finally producing understandable words. The voice was cold, angry, and completely unlike anything the council had encountered before. Captain Minho, Daun replied carefully. We welcome you to our space. I am Ambassador Daun. May we know where you come from and what answers you seek? We come from Earth, the voice replied. Our world was attacked without warning by aliens using crystal-based weapons. Billions of our people died in the first strike. We tracked the energy signature of those weapons across the void, and it led us here. Daun felt her heart skip a beat. Crystal-based weapons could only mean Vexitar technology, but that was impossible. The Vexitar were peaceful. They hadn't fought a war in over 1,000 years. There must be some mistake, she said. The Vexitar are members of our council. They are peaceful beings who would never attack another world. Peaceful? Captain Minho's voice turned even colder. Tell that to the 8 billion humans who died in the crystal fire. Tell that to the children who were vaporized in their schools. Captain Wu Jin moved closer to Daun. Ambassador, I don't like this. Their weapons are powering up. Captain Minho, Daun said urgently. There has been a terrible misunderstanding. Please allow us to investigate this matter. The Council has strict laws against unprovoked attacks. Your laws didn't stop them from destroying Earth, Minho replied. We didn't cross the void to discuss your laws. We came for justice. What kind of justice? Daun asked, though she was beginning to fear the answer. The kind that ensures this never happens again, Minho said. We want complete access to your records. We want to know who authorized the attack on Earth, and we want them handed over for judgment. Daun's training told her to remain calm, but everything about this situation violated first contact protocols. New civilizations were supposed to be grateful for council guidance. They weren't supposed to make demands or threaten violence. I understand your anger, she said carefully, but I must inform you that council records are classified. However, I can assure you that we will conduct a full investigation. You misunderstand, Ambassador, Minho replied. We're not asking for your permission, we're informing you of what's going to happen. The unknown ship suddenly changed course, heading directly toward the diplomatic fleet. Its weapon systems came online with a low, threatening hum that could be heard even through the vacuum of space. All ships, defensive positions, Captain Wu Jin ordered. Raise shields and prepare for possible hostile action. Captain Minho, Da-un said desperately. Please reconsider. Violence will solve nothing. The Council is committed to peaceful resolution of all conflicts. Your Council should have thought about peace before they burned our world, Minho replied. But don't worry, Ambassador. We're not going to attack you. Yet. We're going to your capital world to get our answers. You can either help us or get out of our way. The Soul's vengeance accelerated past the Council fleet as if they weren't even there. Its massive engines left a trail of fusion fire that lit up the darkness of space. Captain Wu Jin looked at his sensor readings in disbelief. Ambassador, they're heading straight for Nexus Prime. At their current speed, they'll arrive in 6 days. Da-Yun realized that first contact had just become a crisis. These humans weren't interested in joining the galactic community. They wanted revenge for something the Council supposedly did to their world, and their ship was powerful enough to demand it. The Soul's vengeance hung in space like a dagger pointed at the heart of the galaxy. Around it, the largest Council fleet ever assembled formed a protective barrier around Nexus Prime. 50 warships from all 7 species created a wall of firepower. But nobody wanted to be the first to shoot. Admiral Youngsu stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the human vessel through the main viewer. Even surrounded by the Council's best ships, the Soul's vengeance looked dangerous. Its angular hull was covered in weapons that the Admiral didn't recognize, and energy readings showed power levels that shouldn't be possible with primitive fusion technology. They're hailing us, reported Communications Officer Subin. Put them through, the Admiral said. The main screen flickered, and for the first time the Council saw a human face. Captain Minho appeared to be middle-aged by human standards, with dark eyes that held a cold fury. Behind him, other humans worked at control stations that looked crude but efficient. Admiral Youngsu, Minho said without any greeting. I assume you're in charge of this fleet. I am, the Admiral replied. Captain Minho, I urge you to reconsider your course of action. The Council wishes to resolve this matter peacefully. Peacefully? Minho's laugh was bitter. Your people already had their chance at peace. They chose war instead. Ambassador Da-Yun stepped into view. Captain, I've been reviewing our records. There is no authorization for any attack on a world called Earth. The Council has strict laws against unprovoked aggression. Then someone broke your laws, Minho replied, and 8 billion humans paid the price. The human captain gestured to someone off-screen. A moment later, another human appeared, a woman with short black hair and the worn look of someone who had seen too much. This is Dr. Jae-min, our chief scientist, Minho said. Show them what we found. Dr. Jae-min held up a crystalline fragment that made every Vextar in the fleet resonate with recognition. This is a piece of the weapon that destroyed Sol, she said. Our analysis shows it's made from a specific type of crystal that grows only in the Vextar home system. Admiral Youngsu felt his crystal matrix crack slightly with shock. That's impossible. Vextar weapons are strictly controlled. Every crystal is accounted for, are they? Dr. Jae-min asked. Because we have fragments from 17 different weapons, all using Vextar crystal technology. All used against civilian targets on Earth. She activated a holographic projector, and the space between the ships filled with images that made the Council fleet's crews gasp in horror. Cities turned to glass, forests crystallized into brittle sculptures, and millions of humans trapped in crystal shells, still alive but unable to move or speak. The attack came without warning, Dr. Jae-min continued. Ships appeared in Earth's orbit and began firing crystal weapons at our major population centers. They didn't target military bases or government buildings. They went after schools, hospitals, residential areas. They wanted to kill as many civilians as possible. Ambassador Da-Yun felt sick. The images were worse than anything in the Council's historical records. Who were they? What did they look like? Captain Minho's expression grew even colder. They looked exactly like him, he said, pointing at Admiral Youngsu. Crystalline beings with bodies that caught the light. They spoke in harmonic tones and called themselves the Pure Crystal Sect. The Admiral's crystal body went completely dark. The Pure Crystal Sect was a name from the Council's most shameful history. A group of Vextar extremists who believed their species was superior to all others. They had been exiled 30 years ago and were believed dead. The Pure Crystal Sect was destroyed, Admiral Youngsu said weakly. Their ships were lost in a mining accident. Were they? Captain Minho asked. Or did you just want everyone to believe that? Dr. Jamin activated another hologram. This one showed recordings from the attack on Earth. Crystalline ships firing down at helpless cities while their crews sang in the harmonic language of the Vextar. We recorded everything, she said. Every ship, every weapon, every voice. We studied your technology for 30 years, learning how to fight back. Captain Minho stepped forward. The Pure Crystal sect didn't just attack us and leave. They tried to colonize Earth. They saw humans as vermin to be exterminated so they could have a pure world for themselves. What happened to them? Ambassador Daon asked, though she was beginning to understand. We killed them, Minho replied simply. Every single one. It took 5 years of the bloodiest war in human history, but we hunted down every Pure Crystal ship and destroyed it. The last one died trying to escape through our asteroid belt. The bridge of the soul's vengeance behind Captain Minho showed the truth of his words. The human crew moved with the efficiency of veterans, and their equipment showed the wear of long use. These weren't peaceful explorers. They were warriors who had spent decades preparing for this moment. That's why you're here, Admiral Young-Soo realized. You followed their technology back to its source. 30 years of tracking energy signatures and hyperspace trails, Dr. Jamin confirmed. The Pure Crystal sect came from this direction. Their technology matches yours perfectly, and since you claim they were exiles, we want to know who sent them and why. Ambassador Daun tried to regain control of the situation. Even if the Pure Crystal sect did attack your world, they were acting without council authorization. They were criminals, not representatives of our government. Criminals you failed to stop, Captain Minho replied. Criminals you let escape to commit genocide. That makes you responsible. We can offer compensation, Daun said desperately. Technology, resources, whatever you need to rebuild. Captain Minho's laugh was like breaking glass. Compensation? For 8 billion dead? What could you possibly offer that would bring back our children? The human captain gestured to Dr. Jamin, who activated one final hologram. This one showed Earth as it was now, a world of crystal forests where cities used to stand, with human survivors living in underground bunkers and sealed habitats. This is what your Pure Crystal sect left behind, Minho said. A world that's too dangerous to live on, where the very air can crystallize your lungs if you breathe it wrong. We have maybe 10 million survivors scattered across 12 colonies. The rest are dead or trapped in crystal shells, conscious but unable to die. The silence that followed was deafening. Every member of the council fleet stared at the images of humanity's dying world, understanding for the first time what they were dealing with. So here's what's going to happen, Captain Minho continued. You're going to give us complete access to your records. You're going to tell us everything about the Pure Crystal sect, who they were, where they came from, and how they got the resources for their attack. And then you're going to help us make sure this never happens to anyone else. And if we refuse? Admiral Young-Soo asked, though he already knew the answer. Captain Minho smiled, and it was the most frightening thing the council had ever seen. Then we'll take what we need from your wreckage. We didn't cross the void to be polite, Admiral. We came for justice, and we'll get it one way or another. Behind him, the Soul's vengeance powered up weapons that shouldn't exist. Human modifications to Vextar technology that made the original designs look like toys. The age of peace was over. The first shot came from the council fleet. It wasn't supposed to happen that way. Commander Tejo, back from his patrol and now commanding the destroyer Crystal's Edge, watched in horror as one of the younger Krell captains lost his nerve and fired a warning shot across the Soul's Vengeance's bow. The human response was immediate and terrifying. All ships. Evasive maneuvers, Admiral Young-Soo shouted as the Soul's Vengeance rotated toward the offending Krell destroyer. But the human ship didn't fire energy weapons or launch missiles. Instead, it opened ports along its hull and launched what looked like simple metal projectiles. Kinetic rounds incoming, reported the sensor officer. Impact in 15 seconds. Commander Tejo watched the projectiles streak across space at incredible speed. They were just chunks of metal, but they were moving at nearly 10% of light speed. Those can't penetrate our shields, he said. He was wrong. The kinetic rounds punched through the Krell destroyer's energy shields as if they didn't exist. The first projectile tore through the ship's hull from bow to stern, while two more struck the engine section. The destroyer broke apart in a shower of metal and crystalline debris. How is that possible? Tejo whispered. Shields down, came panicked reports from across the fleet. They're using some kind of shield-penetrating technology. Dr. Jamin's voice came across the communication channel, calm and professional. Actually, we're just using basic physics. Your shields are designed to stop energy weapons and slow-moving objects. They can't handle solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. More projectiles streaked from the Soul's vengeance, each one finding its target with deadly precision. The Council ships tried to return fire, but their elegant energy weapons splashed harmlessly against the human ship's crude but effective armor plating. All ships, fall back to defensive positions, Admiral Young-Soo ordered, but it was too late. The humans had already proven their point. Captain Minho's voice came across all frequencies. We could have destroyed your entire fleet just now. Instead, we only eliminated the ship that fired on us. This is your only warning. Commander Teho looked at his tactical display in disbelief. The Soul's vengeance had taken out one of their most advanced destroyers with weapons that belonged in a museum. Meanwhile, 50 Council ships had barely scratched the human vessel's hull. Sir, his weapons officer reported, I'm reading massive energy buildup in the human ship's forward section. What kind of energy? Teho asked. I'm not sure. It's unlike anything in our databases. On the main viewer, the Soul's vengeance was turning to face the Council fleet directly. Along its hull, new weapon ports were opening, larger ones that glowed with an ominous blue light. Dr. Jamin's voice returned. What you're seeing now are human-improved Vextar crystal weapons. We spent 30 years studying the fragments from our destroyed cities. We learned how to make them better. The blue glow intensified, and suddenly space itself seemed to crack around the human ship. Reality warped and twisted as the weapon charged, creating visual distortions that hurt to look at. Impossible. Admiral Young-Soo breathed. Crystal weapons can't do that. Yours can't, Dr. Jamin replied. But we don't have your limitations. We don't care if our weapons are elegant or follow your scientific traditions. We only care if they work. The energy buildup reached critical levels, and for a moment every council captain thought they were about to die. Then the weapon powered down without firing. That was a demonstration, Captain Minho said. Our primary weapon can destabilize a star at this range. We're not going to use it, but we want you to know that we can. The silence that followed was complete. Every being in the Council fleet understood that they were facing something beyond their comprehension. The humans fought with a brutality and efficiency that violated every principle of civilized warfare. How? Admiral Young-Soo asked weakly. How did you develop such weapons? Necessity, Captain Minho replied. When your world is burning and your children are dying, you learn to fight with whatever works. We didn't have the luxury of following your rules of war. Commander Teho studied the readings from the human ship more carefully. What he saw made his crystal matrix vibrate with fear. The Soul's vengeance wasn't just armed, it was a flying weapons platform. Every surface carried guns, missile launchers, or crystal weapon arrays. There were no diplomatic quarters, no civilian areas, no recreational facilities. The entire ship was built for one purpose, destroying enemies. You've turned yourselves into monsters, Admiral Young-Soo said. No, Captain Minho replied. We turned ourselves into survivors. There's a difference. Dr. Jamin activated another display, this one showing technical specifications that made the Council's engineers gasp. The Soul's vengeance carries 15 different weapon systems. Kinetic cannons for shield penetration, crystal weapons for area denial, nuclear warheads for point defense, and gravitational mines for ship-to-ship combat. Nuclear weapons. Commander Teho couldn't believe what he was hearing. You use nuclear weapons as point defense? Among other things, Dr. Jamin confirmed. We also have biological weapons, chemical weapons, and something we call planet crackers for dealing with fortified positions. Ambassador Da-Un's voice cut through the technical discussion. This is madness. Civilized beings don't build such weapons. Civilized beings don't commit genocide either, Captain Minho replied. But your pure crystal sect did both. They built these weapons and used them against innocent people. We just improved on their design. The truth of the situation was becoming clear to everyone in the Council fleet. The humans hadn't just survived the pure crystal sect's attack, they had learned from it. They had studied their enemies' weapons and tactics, then created something even more deadly. We spent 30 years preparing for this moment, Dr. Jamin continued. We knew that whoever sent the pure crystal sect might send others. So we built ships that could fight anyone, anywhere, using any means necessary. But at what cost? Admiral Young-Soo asked. What did you have to become to build such things? Captain Minho was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of decades of grief and rage. We became what we had to become. We gave up our peace, our innocence, our hope for a better future. We turned our entire civilization into a weapon, because that was the only way to ensure our survival. The human captain gestured to his crew, and for the first time the council officers could see them clearly. They were all veterans, scarred by battle and hardened by loss. These weren't explorers or diplomats. They were soldiers who had spent their entire adult lives preparing for war. The Soul's vengeance isn't our only ship, Captain Minho said. It's just the first. Earth has been building a fleet for 30 years, and every ship is crewed by people who lost everything to your pure crystal sect. How many ships? Admiral Young-Soo asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Enough, Captain Minho replied. Enough to make sure that what happened to Earth never happens to anyone else. Enough to hunt down every threat in the galaxy and eliminate it before it can act. Commander Tejo realized that they weren't just facing one angry ship. They were facing an entire civilization that had been transformed by war into something the peaceful galaxy had never seen before. So here's what happens next, Captain Minho continued. You're going to take us to your capital world, and you're going to give us access to your archives. We're going to find out everything about the Pure Crystal Sect, and then we're going to make sure they can never hurt anyone again. And if we refuse? Admiral Young-Soo asked. Captain Minho smiled that terrible smile again. Then we'll take what we need from your wreckage and find the archives ourselves. Your choice, Admiral. The Council fleet began to move aside, opening a path to Nexus Prime. They had learned a hard lesson about human warfare, and none of them wanted to learn another. The Council archives on Nexus Prime had never been breached by outsiders. For 3,000 years, the massive crystalline structure had held the secrets and history of 7 civilizations. Now Captain Minho walked through its sacred halls with Dr. Jamin and a team of human technicians, their heavy boots echoing off the polished floors. Council archivist Bo-Ra, an elderly Sylphara whose bark had grown thick with age, led them deeper into the facility. Her movements were slow and painful. She had never expected to see such a violation of the archive's sanctity. These are the classified files you requested, Bo-Ra said, stopping before a massive wall of data crystals, records of the Pure Crystal Sect and their activities. Dr. Jamin connected a human data device to the archive's access port. The technology was crude by Council standards, but it worked. Information began flowing into human computers for the first time in galactic history. 37 members, Dr. Jamin read from the files, led by someone called Tae-Young, exiled 15 years before the attack on Earth for ideological extremism and racial purity advocacy. Captain Minho studied the holographic displays that showed the Pure Crystal Sect's known activities. They were mining illegal crystals in the outer systems, building weapons without authorization. Why didn't the Council stop them? Bo-Ra's branches rustled with shame. We tried. Admiral Young-Soo led 3 missions to shut down their operations, but they had hidden bases throughout the outer rim. Every time we found one, they had already moved to another. So you gave up? Minho's voice was cold. We thought we had stopped them, Bo-Ra replied. Their leader, Tae-Young, was killed in a battle with Council forces. The surviving sect members fled into the silent expanse with damaged ships. Our long-range sensors detected their ships breaking apart near the galactic edge. Dr. Jamin looked up from her readings. Except they didn't break apart, did they? They made it to Earth. The human team continued searching through the files, their faces growing darker with each revelation. The Pure Crystal Sect hadn't just been extremists. They had been planning a campaign of galactic cleansing, starting with any world they deemed impure. Here, Dr. Jamin said, highlighting a particular file. Strategic planning documents. They were looking for worlds with what they called crystal potential, planets where they could establish pure Vextar colonies. Captain Minho read over her shoulder. Earth was just the first target? According to this, they had a list of 47 worlds marked for purification, all inhabited by species they considered inferior. Dr. Jamin's voice was tight with controlled anger. Admiral Young-Soo entered the archives with Ambassador Daun and several other Council officials. The Admiral's crystal body was dim with guilt and exhaustion. We've completed our own investigation, Young-Soo said. You were right about everything. The Pure Crystal Sect did escape our pursuit 30 years ago. They did attack your world. and we failed to stop them. Why? Captain Minho demanded. Why didn't you track them down? Because we didn't want to believe they could survive in the silent expanse, Ambassador Daun admitted. Our ships can't operate that far from Council space for extended periods. We assumed they would die of equipment failure or resource depletion. You assumed wrong, Minho replied. They not only survived, they thrived. They spent 15 years building a fleet and planning their attack on Earth. Dr. Jamin discovered another file that made her freeze. Captain, you need to see this. The file showed detailed intelligence reports about Earth, population centers, military capabilities, resource locations. The information was incredibly detailed and obviously collected over many years. They studied us, Minho realized. They watched Earth for years before attacking, learning our weaknesses. The attack wasn't random, Dr. Jamin agreed. They chose Earth specifically because humans had no space defenses and no knowledge of crystal weapons. We were perfect victims. Admiral Young-Soo approached the human team carefully. Captain Minho, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally apologize for our failure to prevent this tragedy. The pure crystal sect was our responsibility and we failed to contain them. Your apology doesn't bring back 8 billion dead humans, Minho replied. No, it doesn't. Young-Soo agreed. But perhaps we can ensure it never happens again. The Admiral activated a holographic display showing the current galaxy map. We've been investigating reports of unusual activity in 3 outer rim systems. Energy signatures that match pure crystal technology. Captain Minho's expression sharpened. More survivors? Possibly, Young-Soo said. Or weapons caches they left behind. Either way, they represent a threat to innocent worlds. Dr. Jamin studied the readings. These signatures are too weak to be active ships, but they could be automated defense systems or hidden bases. We need to investigate these sites, Minho said. If there are more pure crystal weapons out there, we have to destroy them. Ambassador Daun stepped forward. The Council agrees, but our ships lack the firepower to destroy heavily fortified pure crystal positions. We would need your help. Captain Minho was quiet for a long moment, considering the implications. You're asking us to become your military arm, to do the dirty work your peaceful ships can't handle. We're asking you to help us prevent another genocide, Daun replied. Your Earth wasn't the only world on their target list. Dr. Jamin pulled up the pure crystal planning documents again. 47 worlds, Captain. Billions of innocent beings marked for death because they weren't pure enough. Minho looked at the list of targeted worlds, inhabited planets throughout Council space, home to species that had never heard of the pure crystal sect or their twisted ideology. What are you offering in return? He asked. Admiral Young-Soo took a deep breath. Complete access to Council technology, medical knowledge that might help your crystallized population, resources to rebuild Earth, and formal recognition of humanity as an equal member of the galactic community. Equal? Minho raised an eyebrow. Not as junior partners or probationary members? Equal, Daun confirmed. With full voting rights and representation on the Council. Your ships would patrol Council space, protecting all member worlds from external threats. Dr. Jamin looked at her captain. It's more than we expected to get, but less than we deserve, Minho replied. Then he sighed. However, it's enough. The dead can't be brought back, but the living can be protected. The human captain turned to face the assembled Council officials. We accept your offer, but there will be conditions. Name them, Admiral Young-Soo said. First, complete transparency. No more classified files, no more hidden operations. If we're going to protect the galaxy, we need to know everything about potential threats. Agreed, Daun said. Second, human ships will be stationed throughout Council space. We're not going back to Earth to wait for the next crisis. We're staying here to prevent it. Also agreed. Young-Soo nodded. Third, Minho's voice grew harder. If we ever discover that Council forces are involved in another atrocity like Earth, we will respond with extreme prejudice. The Soul's Vengeance and her sister ships don't just carry weapons, they carry justice. The Council officials exchanged glances. They were essentially agreeing to let humanity become the galaxy's police force, backed by weapons that could destroy star systems. Understood, Daun said finally. But Captain, we hope that such measures will never be necessary. Captain Minho looked around the archives, at the records of 3,000 years of peace that had been shattered by the pure crystal sect's hatred. So do we, Ambassador, he said. So do we. Dr. Jamin closed her data files and disconnected from the archive system. We have everything we need. The locations of the suspected pure crystal sites, their weapon specifications, and tactical information. Then it's time to finish what the Council started 30 years ago, Minho said. Time to make sure the pure crystal sect's evil dies with them. As the humans prepared to leave the archives, Bora approached Captain Minho one final time. I hope you can forgive us, the old archivist said. We truly believed we had stopped them. Minho looked at her for a long moment. Forgiveness is for the living, archivist. The dead deserve justice, and that's what we're going to give them.